So Matt, we've talked a lot about the Halo remote, but something specific that I want to go over are dynamic buttons. What's so special about them, and what are we going to learn today?
Yes, Justin, the tactile remote does not have a touchscreen like its brother, so that does mean that it is a little bit limited in the type of controls and customization you can have with it, because everything has to be used with the D-pad or other buttons physically on the remote in order to control a lot of the devices in your home. So getting to lighting can take quite a few steps. You got to press the home button, then you got to go down to lighting, then you got to go to the light that you actually want to control, and then you got to click that light and then select the light level, and then you got to back all the way out of all those menus.
Sounds like a lot of work, but I'm sure you're going to show me something that we can fix that with.
Yeah, the number of buttons you got to do for that, especially something like, a light that you're using on a regular basis, way too many button presses. My wife is a culprit of leaving all of the lights on in the kitchen, and it's just outside of the TV room, so I'm often having to turn those lights off, and having to switch rooms just adds even more steps to all of this. So taking advantage of the dynamic buttons that are on the tactile remote means that I can have some shortcuts and turn off lots of different lights and use some contextual programming to know where the remote is, what button was pressed, and then have more actions than just, say, 3 custom buttons like our SR260 video where we talked about custom buttons. The tactile dynamic buttons, a lot more power and a lot more programming options available with these new remotes.
Sounds good. Where do we get started?
As always, let's jump into Composer. We're going to shortcut straight to the remote so we don't have to wait for all the loading screens. And our landing page, as we expect for the Halo Tactile, is going to look something like this. We have all of our details of the remote. Then we have voice properties. If you are using Apple or in Xfinity cable TV, you can have voice control, and there's some diagnostics available here on the voice, but we're going to be concerned about the remote buttons. On the Halo remote, there are 3 soft buttons right underneath the screen, and above the buttons on the screen is a little section for these different dynamic buttons. You can label them here in the properties page. As you can see, we're going to start with lights, send audio, and send video. As you can see, there is a 9-character limit, so you don't get a whole lot of characters in there to describe what you're trying to do. And something complex like we're going to set up here, being able to send audio and video to other rooms in the house, is hard to explain on the remote with 9 characters. So this is the best option I came up with the customer, and he likes it this way. Then you have room action. You don't necessarily need to assign them to a custom button, but if you've already got programming assigned to that room from a previous SR260, or you want to take advantage of that in other ways, you can definitely assign that button to a room action as well.
Well, that's great that you've named them, Matt, but how do we actually program them?
As usual, we need to jump into the programming section and go through quite a few steps here. So this is a lengthy process, so bear with us on the video and timing as we will get a lot of information in a short amount of time here. So we're going to go to our room where the remote is, which is in the bar. And then you'll see when you click on there, we're going to have 3 remote events. We have button 1, 2, and 3 when they are clicked. Keep in mind, if you've got the properties set to custom buttons 1, 2, or 3, whatever you have a program for, it will all not only do the programming you have set here, it will also do the programming of the custom button as well. All right, so the first thing we're going to need is to create some variables and some timers. So let's jump over real quick to the Agents tab and go ahead and create our timers. So I've already done so ahead of time, but we've got a Halo button reset here. You can just hit add, type in a name, and then you'll get these same settings. The time that you want to set for this is going to depend on your own personal taste. For me, I've found it best to do 5 seconds.
Well, what happens after 5 seconds? Why 5 seconds specifically?
Yeah, so basically every time you press the button, we're going to reset that timer. And then if the remote is idle for more than 5 seconds, and idle just being that the custom buttons haven't been touched, you can use other buttons on it. It's not going to reset it because we're only worried about the custom buttons, or rather the dynamic buttons. And the 5 seconds is just enough time for you to go through the menus, see your choices, select a choice, and then after it being idle, it'll just reset back to our original 3 buttons that we had programmed when we looked at the properties page for the Halo remote. Now